Hey everybody, it's Moonhorse again. Coming in just before this video with a little bit of information. We're talking about the University of Utah healthcare program. A friend of mine is not doing well and needs you guys, if you can, to look into this program, donate if you can, help out if you can. They're looking for, donations, people who can do live kidney transplants, the whole thing. This is a very good cause, and it's very, very important. So if you guys have anything you can do to help, or any way that you can help at all, please do. It would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to everybody. It's not just me. It's about everybody. Everybody's in this together, so we should all put together to actually do something. Like, if you're interested, or you have any way that you can possibly get in touch with this, or if you're in the area and you can do something to help out, you can contact them at uofulivingdonor.org. Or you can contact them at the phone number 801-587-8816. If you're interested in helping my friend specifically, when you get through to somebody or you're talking to somebody, ask for Corinne C. Powell. That's who needs the help right now. It's this person who asked me to kind of help out, not just for her, but for everybody. So if you want to help out, you want to contribute to a good cause, you want to do something good, really help these people out. They could use it. Alright, so now on with the show. So I started this thing with an intro podcast, and I guess that's the best way to end it. A summarization of all the things that we've seen here. It's been a few days recording this, and I've poured over this information, watched videos on the subject, and generally got as much as I could out of this, because really, as I said when I went into this, weird shit like this fascinates me. I just want to know more. I want to see all of this shit. And honestly, there was a lot. And yeah, honestly, like the first reading, everything from the webmaster, the entire story from the very beginning sounds cultish. It's absolutely a cult. Sometimes people like this, I guess, you can say in certain situations don't realize that they're acting like that. But given how many times this has happened, and given how many examples we have, and given how much this keeps going back and forth, no, there's no accidental about this. This was absolute and completely done, 100% intentional. Now, on some level, I'm sure that Jen realizes that this is, in fact, cult-like behavior, the brainwashing, the controlling, the manipulation, the lies, the deceit, the taking. But also, the other question of that is, well, Moonhorse, do you believe that she's an emotionally disturbed individual? Yes. Absolutely yes. 1,000 times yes. To the point that I think she honestly needs to seek help. But unfortunately, in a lot of cases like this, that won't happen. People like this rarely want to give up their particular obsessions and things like this. They very rarely want to step outside of the bubble they have created and into the light of the real world, because that would mean having to admit you're wrong. And in the eyes of the cult leaders like this, admitting you're wrong is the greatest sin. You can never be incorrect. You are always right. Even when you are wrong, you are right. So, I don't think it'll ever end. I don't think it'll end until it absolutely has to. I don't think that her ways of doing things, or the way she treats people, or the way that any of this stuff has happened is going to end until there is no other choice. Until the day that she has no outlet. Until it is completely and 100% disconnected from everything else. When she has no money, when she has no one to control, when she has nothing else to dominate and domineer over, maybe then she'll realize that it's not going to work, and you're going to have to haul yourself up, and you can't depend on the control of others in order to get anywhere. But that's a big maybe. That is, of course, as I've said, really, really dependent on how into her own stuff she is. See, a lot of people who end up getting into this kind of stuff will tell you that maybe it started as a con. It started as like a gimmick, a thing that they could, some parlor tricks, some fancy wordage, something they could use to kind of coerce people out of money and attention and get what they want. And every now and then there are those who start to believe that they don't know magic tricks. They know actual magic. They don't. There is no such thing as actual magic. I should know. I'm a fucking unicorn. So, what is it with Jen? Well, the question at this point is, what isn't it? Does she have the wherewithal left within her to understand that her behavior is just essentially, I guess, humoring yourself into believing your own lies? A constant narrative pressed upon everyone else that essentially started to seep into your own mind, and now you honestly believe these things? Psychosis run rampant without any kind of second guessing or checking or anyone to call back on it. That's what a lot of this sounds like. And since we're on the subject, and we're on the subject of Jen in particular, let's talk about the other one. Let's talk about Hojo. We've covered Jen, and we know how crazy she is. Hojo reminds me, is a particularly tragic figure. It reminds me of a lot of sad things from my past and from a lot of people that I knew. Honestly, she reminds me of myself when I dated someone who was generally this psychotic, someone who did not allow you to have friends that she did not approve of. You couldn't dress a certain way, couldn't talk a certain way, couldn't go anywhere. Essentially attempted on more than one occasion to tear me away from family. And that was when the lines were drawn. That's when I knew no, I'm not going to allow this. This has to stop. So Hojo strikes me as what would happen if I had not fought back. She's obviously someone who's desperately in love with Jen, but eventually, man, you really gotta realize that when it comes to this kind of person, when it comes to this particular behavior, I mean, how much longer can you let it go on? How much longer can you turn a blind eye because you care about someone? This is someone with this kind of psychosis is kind of like, you're being in love with or caring for someone who has a terrible heroin habit. It's like you care about them and you want to do what they would want because it would make them happy, but eventually you're going to have to do the thing that they're not going to want. Otherwise, it's never going to end, and they might end up dead. And they might bring you with them. You have to make a decision. You have to be willing to put your foot down and say, that's enough. This has to stop. I understand that you like this, but it's killing us. So you have to stop. Honestly, I would have thought the bringing another person into the relationship, even though it was pretty obvious that she didn't want that, would have been enough. But apparently it wasn't. So I don't know if that ever will change. I don't know where they are now. No one really seems to. Not from the site that I looked at. But if they're out there somewhere, maybe, just maybe, things have gotten better. Or maybe they're preying on another group of other kin or soul-bonded furries or whatever to constantly preach this kind of creation of multiple entities living inside you. You are multiple things. Listen, kids, this is going to be hard to hear. Because if you've shared this with anyone who believes these kind of things and have listened to this whole thing all the way through, though I doubt they will, because a lot of people who are really into that kind of stuff don't want to hear anything that contradicts their belief. Because, why would you ever listen to anything that challenges your thoughts? This is specifically about that. This is specifically to that point. If it makes you happy, if it's harmless, if it's not damaging you in any way, then I guess you can believe whatever you want. If you're not hurting anyone, you're not hurting yourself, you're not doing anything destructive or horrific or anything like that, then I really can't say no to you. I don't agree. I don't agree that there are multiple systems or anything like that. There's a difference between having multiple personalities, an actual schizophrenic episode, and this idea of multiple systems or soul bonded or otherkin. You have to acknowledge eventually that you're playing pretend. You're not actually an animal. You're not actually a dead person. You're not actually a mythical creature. No more than I am. I don't say it enough, mainly because of who I am, and who I am is a joke. And very rarely do I tend to get very serious on these podcasts. A lot of what I do is comedy. I point out weird things. I find strange things. I read the weird and unusual because it's interesting. That's just kind of my thing. And I like to share it with you guys. And on multiple occasions throughout this entire thing, I have shown you that I am a man in a rubber mask claiming to be a unicorn. I don't really believe I am. I'm not. I'm not an actual magical unicorn. But I can dream. That's aside from the point. That was actually a joke, and it was actually really poorly timed. But that's... I know that I'm not. That's the bottom line. I know what I am, and I know what I'm not. I'm not pretending to be something else to the point that I actually believe I am. I am not some sort of magical creature, and neither are you. You're a person. You can do great things without pretending you have the soul of a dragon inside of you. And if it makes you happy to pretend to do these things, and you're not hurting anyone, that's fine. See, this is where this goes back to where we started with this. If this person, if Jen, wanted only in her life to pretend to be these characters, this Genova or whatever the fuck, I don't know how many others, the cosplay, the conventions, meeting people, live action role play, just, these are the things I pretend to do. That's fine. It's when you started a cult, started abusing people, pulling them away from friends and family, taking all their money, demanding that they never, ever, ever question anything you do like a tyrannical monster. That's when you lost the right. That's when you turned into something awful. And that's why I don't have a problem reading some of this stuff. Because as much as I feel bad about pointing out people's names on the internet, and a lot of times I don't, if you've done something like this, it doesn't bother me. You had a choice not to be this horrible, and you chose to do it anyway. This got really serious, and I'm kind of sorry about that. I usually try to keep this stuff really lighthearted and funny, because, hey, that's who I am. I'm lighthearted and funny. But yeah, this is kind of a serious topic. So I figured, instead of just ending this by reading some stuff, let's actually talk about, real issues. Let's unscripted podcast talk back and forth. All of my podcasts like this, are unscripted. I just talk. And this is just kind of where my mind goes. That may or may not be a good thing, but, I'm going with it. But yeah, I'm sorry that it had to end on kind of a sour note, but this is kind of a serious issue. So, honestly, in summation, I really hope that either one of them, Jin or Hojo or whatever their actual names are, I'm not, okay. I really hope that they either found something, got help, and are living happy, normal lives now as normal people. Or I hope that maybe if they're not together, one of them leaving the other one was the wake-up call that they needed to at least bring one person out of this insane stupor. Because the only thing you need to prove that this movement, this whole insane thing was in fact insane, is to read through this website and look at the list of people you have damaged in your wake. I've lived through fucked up shit. I can safely say I haven't damaged a group of people in the process. Seriously, guys, if for some reason you ever hear this, it's time to stop. Uncle Moonhorse says it's time to stop. Put the game down. It's time to grow up. This incredibly sad ending is brought to you by me. There is no advertiser. I don't know why I started that sentence with brought to you by, but, it kind of went there, so I kept going with it. It's brought to you by Micro Machines. Micro Machine Man here, aircraft carrier there. You can have that, but you can't have this. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. That'd be cool. Also have a Patreon, because, somebody's got to pay for the internet nightmare mining machine that I keep in my backyard. Seriously, it takes a lot of diesel to run that thing. Just like $5. That'd be cool. Okay. Love you all. Bye.